Hello, great people. EFCC secures final forfeiture of 753 duplexes in Abuja, reportedly owned by Godwin Emefiele, the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Emefiele served as CBN governor from 2014 to 2023. That means that during the whole era of the Buhari administration, for 8 years, Emefiele was the CBN governor. In this video, we'll be looking at the issues, we'll be looking at the concerns, the scandals, and the question raised by this forfeiture from Emefiele. Now, let us look at something. Let us just think back that 753 duplex, 753. You can imagine that, like, if you are to count 1, 2, 3 up to 753, just imagine how long it will take you. For instance, if you want to imagine how long 753 is, take a bowl of water and begin to take gulp, 753 gulps, and see whether you can withstand it. Do you think 753 is not much? Try and run for 753 minutes. Do you think that 753 is not much? Try and eat. Take a spoon of food, whether rice or any food of your choice, for 753 times. Then you know that 753 is a whole lot of figure. But then you want to question yourself that how come that 753 duplex? Because you want to do the calculation. If you calculate the cost, a bag of cement, and as you can see the duplexes on your screen, to own 753 of these in a country that people can barely feed, in a country that people are going to bed hungry, you want to imagine that some of you that have maybe ongoing project or that are built out before, we know what it costs to build a story building. Foundation, linted, decking, a whole lot of processes involved. And this is not the stage that the building ought to be, because the EFCC found in Emefiele's home in Lagos the receipt for the payment of the roofing sheet of these duplexes. Now, so the matter cast. They found the receipt of the payment for the roofing of these duplexes. Maybe if they haven't found the receipt, maybe they wouldn't have been able to trace it to Emefiele. But then we need to imagine something, that in Nigeria, a corrupt public service system so exists in such a way that it is possible for one man, again I repeat, just one man, to be able to have acquired so much wealth. Now, go to Google. Just Google Emefiele forfeiture. I'm trying to accumulate all the forfeiture, because you will see, trace it back to when President Bola Tinubu was sworn in. You will see the monumental forfeitures that government have been able to retrieve from Emefiele. So how can we have such a corrupt public service system whereby people will be enriched? You go in maybe as a poor man or an average man, you come out as one of the wealthiest man in the country. So, and you want to imagine that as Emefiele is doing his own, imagine that other CBN staffs are also cornering something, because this is just what they are retrieving from one man, because it wasn't reported that Emefiele is like it is joint ownership. And during the court process, there would have been an announcement in the newspaper that if you have interest or you partly own this property, come forward. So perhaps nobody had come forward, maybe because they are afraid. But based on the court judgment, it is owned by Emefiele. So you want to imagine if Emefiele owns this much and other CBN staffs is subordinate, look at what they will own. Now let's do a brief arithmetic. If Emefiele owns this much, imagine what would be owned by governors, the ones that were stolen by former military head of state, down to the civilian government during Obasanjo's time. The governor, in fact, some of the cases of those governors are still in court. And look at the monumental stealing. Now go to the ministers that have been serving since 1999. Go to the special advisors to the governors. Go to the commissioners, the senior special assistants to the governors, to the president, Now go to each ministries and the permanent sex, senior civil servant. Ah, God. You see, Nigeria, you see, the way I'm listing those things offhand, the way I'm just listing them offhand, I'm just imagining that how much have been stolen, and that's why you have poverty all over the place. Are you surprised that Nigeria is a very rich country, yet the country is so poor that it is apparently the poverty capital of the world? These are some of the reasons, because the money that people are supposed to use to prosper is what these guys, less than 1,000 of them, are just, cornering to themselves. But one thing should give you concern, as it gives me concern, which is that this corruption of Emefiele happened under the Buhari administration. Buhari that came into office on the vow to fight corruption. Buhari that is allegedly propounded as Mr. Integrity. And I have asserted that Buhari is not Mr. You see, that's one of the essence of this channel, political education. If you are not politically educated, politicians will cheat you politically. And that's why you need the political knowledge. Because when Buhari was to contest for second term against Atiku Abubakar, and Adams Oshiomhole, former governor of Edo State, was screaming, Mr. Integrity, Mr. Integrity, Buhari is Mr. Integrity, Atiku lacks integrity. One day, as a political scientist, I just decided, okay, let me research about this Mr. Integrity. And I put on my system, and I was trying to research about Buhari. While I was conducting the research, something just went to the military era. My mind just went to the military era, and I said, why am I even stressing myself? If Buhari is truly Mr. Integrity, men of integrity don't collect stolen things. If they are saying Buhari didn't participate in the coup in the 1980s, that Buhari didn't participate, that people orchestrated the coup, seized power and handed it over to Buhari. If Buhari is truly a man of integrity, he shouldn't have collected stolen things, because they stole power and they gave it to him. So that means that he's not a man of integrity. Men of integrity don't receive stolen things. So under this same man of integrity, in quote, is under him that this monumental corruption happened. Then you want to imagine that, still on Buhari, that Buhari, there is something confusing about Emefiele's appointment and stay in office and the person of Buhari, because Buhari's disdain for the Igbos is not hidden. During Buhari time, the Igbos did not have any major appointment in the Buhari cabinet, any significant appointment. Buhari was very nepotistic. In fact, it was during Buhari time that the agitation for Biafra gained extra momentum based on the nepotism of Muhammadu Buhari. Now, Emefiele was not appointed by Buhari. Emefiele was appointed by Jonathan, a government that the Buhari government deemed extraordinarily corrupt. But Buhari came in, retained Emefiele, and not only retained him, Emefiele served throughout Buhari's tenure of 8 years of a sensitive organization like the CBN. That shows that Emefiele is a loyal boy to the Hausa Fulani stock that were the cabal that were in charge of power during Buhari's time. What am I trying to say? It shows that, you see, it's not really about ethnicity for some of these guys. It is about what they can get and who can make it happen. So if they have somebody that they don't believe he will be loyal, and the Buhari boys see loyalty in Emefiele, of course they will use him. And you can imagine the amount of loyalty that Emefiele would have put in, the amount of yes sir that Emefiele would have put in for him to have remained the CBN governor throughout the 8 years. The question now is, what happens to the people that were commandeering Emefiele? What happens to the accomplice of Emefiele? What is happening to them? That is why you know that Emefiele is just the fall guy, because there are media reports of different levels of corruption. Honorable Ewo of Rivers State alleged that during the governorship, the the tenure of Nyesom Wike. Now, Nyesom Wike allegedly stole over 2 trillion naira. Nothing has been heard of it because why? Nyesom Wike was instrumental to the win of President Bola Tinubu during the presidential race. So if Emefiele had been a loyal boy, if he had compromised during the presidential election, because of course the Tinubu boys would have reached out to him that Emefiele, how far now? Why you dey show yourself now? This naira redesign, even if Buhari want time, tell am say the machine no work. Just find something to say. Just as IRF no work, you know, you can make something happen, Emefiele. But Emefiele would have been very stubborn. And that is what he is paying for. So as much as I salute the government, and I pray that government will get more forfeitures, not only from Emefiele, but from everybody that has stolen. I pray that there will be fight between all of them so that we can get our resources back from them. But the truth is, if Emefiele had cooperated with the Tinubu boys during the election to sabotage the order of Buhari on the naira redesign, do you think anything would have happened to Emefiele now? Nothing would have happened. Sincerely, if the Tinubu boys have approached people in INEC and they didn't cooperate, and Tinubu eventually won the election, don't you think that the INEC boss will also be standing one trial or the other now? Let me give you another example. Mele Kyari, the head of NNPC, you and I know that NNPC has been, and it still remains, one of the most corrupt institutions in Nigeria where there is no transparency, where there is no accountability. Mele Kyari still remains as the head of NNPCL today. Why? Because he cooperates and he is a loyal boy. So it's about loyalty. So where Emefiele got it wrong is the part of lack of disloyalty to the Tinubu camp, who eventually won the election. But if he had been loyal, we wouldn't have heard about any of these things. And the implication of it is that Emefiele would have just gone away with all this loot, and Nigeria will remain poor. Do you think that you are poor yet? No, you are not yet poor. If you think you are poor yet, let them continue the stealing. You will know that poverty will get level. Go to some African countries, you will know that we are still rich in Nigeria. So that is why we must not encourage any wrongdoing. Something should concern you as it concerns me, which is that Emefiele tried to be president. That's one major issue. He tried to be president. So that means that if everything had gone right, Emefiele today would have been the president of Nigeria. Now, let us do some review. The characters that try to be president and what we have heard of them afterwards is mind-boggling. And it should make anybody sad about the political system in Nigeria. First, Yaya Bello tried to be president. He's standing trial for stealing billions of Kogi State money right now in court. He's standing trial. Nyesom Wike, like I said earlier, a PDP chieftain said he stole over 2 trillion naira. Nyesom Wike also tried to be president. Ifeanyi Okowa tried to be the vice president. Atiku didn't win the election. If not, Ifeanyi Okowa would have been the vice president now of the PDP. He's standing trial with the EFCC for stealing 1.6 or 1.7 trillion naira. That is close to 2 trillion. You can imagine that. So you want to imagine the kind of characters that portray themselves, that try to be the president of the country. And do you want to hear the truth? You want to hear the truth? If these are the people that try to be president, Nigeria will one day have one of them as president if you haven't had one already. You heard me right? Because if you look at the statistics of people that try to be president, and you look at what has happened afterward, and the mind-boggling corruption, the mind-boggling, ego for the likes of Nyesom Wike, the way he has tried to hold River State by the jugular to even deny the state allocation, the state that have made you everything that you ever dream of, and the one you didn't even dream of. Now you are trying to stop the allocation of that state when we saw it on TV that the lawmakers loyal to you decamped. The court may say no based on technicality, but we saw it. And we are not fools in this country. So you can imagine if Wike had succeeded in being the president of this country, if Yaya Bello have succeeded in being the president of this country, you can just imagine the level of corruption that would have occurred if Emefiele have succeeded to be the president of this country. So kudos to President Bola Tinubu, at least for going after one person. But then the people that are, that are leaking the icing on the national cake in his cabinet, we want to see Bola Tinubu go after them too. It shouldn't be because Emefiele did not cooperate. That is why he's facing all these things. No, we want to see people that cooperated with Bola Tinubu also standing trial. It shouldn't be EFCC shouldn't be an attack dog for members of the opposition and people that didn't fall into line with President Bola Tinubu. And I hope that we will strengthen our institution so that we don't keep having all this corruption, because Emefiele now, you are forfeiting his asset. You are collecting everything from him. What have you put in place to make sure that Yemi Cardoso, the incumbent CBN governor, does not steal as much as Emefiele or even more than Emefiele? So the system still remains almost the same. And that is why we have so much money, but we remain poor. Who do I blame? The gullible Nigerians that you want to die because of this politician. You don't even want to hear any logical argument, for or against them. You are one-way centric. I pity you because they are enriching themselves. Emefiele served under PDP, served under APC, and now an APC government is bringing him to book. Maybe tomorrow, a PDP government or a Labour Party government may come in, and all these cases will just be forgiven. And he may even be appointed, maybe as an ambassador or something. Think Nigerians, and let's always advocate for a great country. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politics with Dr. Omoyele. Dr. Deji is a political scientist with a PhD in political science, and this is where we relax to talk about politics and happenings in the polity. Do want to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and expect great, interesting videos from me. Till I see you again, I love you all sincerely.